All right, happy lunchtime. Just want to reach out for a quick update. I'm like super happy right now. I was feeling a little bit defeated for a minute because, and I don't want to bring any negativity because I don't, but I do want to bring some light to something where when I started this whole, save my son's skin journey, I never in my wildest dreams thought that it would be where we are right now. Like, when I started this process, I started it because my son was in a bed all day, every day. From 10, 11, 12, and now he's 13. And his HS was just progressing. And his dermatologist just said that his HS was just super aggressive. The most aggressive that he's seen. Because he didn't understand how my son's HS was just going beyond all the medication. Everything that my son was on. And my son has been on some extreme medication. You know, he started having problems with his esophagus when he was on Humira. He had an inflamed liver because of one of the prescriptions. I don't remember if it was clindamycin or doxycycline. I remember he had really bad stomach aches. And back then, we didn't know whether they were related to HS or if they're even just related to the medication. And mind you, my son is, at the time, 11, 10, 12. He's a kid, so he's not gonna know how to, describe or explain symptoms. And I don't expect any kid to even be able to do that because these are some grown-up pills. And as a parent, we're supposed to read these prescriptions, really understand what these prescriptions do, and we don't. I am very guilty of it. When I was giving my son all this stuff, I just took whatever the doctor said, because I'm thinking in my head, you know what? If the doctor's prescribing it, it must be good, because they wouldn't prescribe something that would hurt my son. Boy, was I wrong. So as my son got older and stayed on these prescriptions, because he was on them, he was on doxycycline for 3 years. He's been on clindamycin since day one. He's been taken on and off. Rifampicin on and off. Metformin just recently took him off. And it's like these doctors are just like, well, you know what? Let's just try this pill. That's the way I feel. Like, we're just pill popping. Like, what the heck, And when I ask questions, it's like, well, and then they word it in a way that I'm like, I don't want to sound stupid to question it, because it's like, why am I questioning my doctor, Because then they're going to get mad. And you don't want to upset the person that's trying to prescribe you something that's possibly something that my son or whoever you're helping, gets relief from. But no, I mean, these pharmaceutical pills and Humira was just making my son worse. It was just suppressing his immune system, allowing bacteria to grow. And when, we would have to re-up on pills or whatever the case may be, these were the times where his immune system was really trying to work to help him keep healthy. And I'm over here thinking, these boils, these cysts, this pus, they're all due to heat. They're due to stress. They're due to hormones. And little do we know, it's all because of what we eat. I'm a big cook. If you haven't, for those who have not followed me before and have now just got to know me because of HS and because of the movement me and my son are, pushing with living with HS pain-free. I cooked a lot. I'm one of those where I like to replicate dishes, imitate dishes, and so I was just always online, trying to replicate like the meals that I don't want to have to pay for, because I knew I can make it at home. But little did I know that everything that I was cooking, like, was literally reacting against my son, because his digestive system wasn't able to process it. The bacteria is being released through his intestines. And people call it is it bad gut or worse gut, something of that nature. And it's like, I just didn't know. And the more that I learned, you know, after that last appointment that I had back in June, like June is gonna always be like embedded in my head. Because the video that I just showed about my son, man, that's a whole 100% personality progress from where we were at June. And in June, I really thought that I wasn't going to have my son at age 30 because these holes were just getting bigger and they wouldn't stop draining. He couldn't even move. He couldn't get out of bed. It was to the point where, there you go, leaky gut syndrome. There we go. Thank you. And I got to the point where I was really thinking, you know what? My son's going to be freaking disabled as a teenager. And what's going to happen when I'm gone? Who's going to take care of him while I'm gone? Because he's not going to be able to take care of himself. Not with this pain. Not with these holes. Not with this leakage. So when I started really doing some deep diving and researching, and man, I tore our body apart. Mentally, you know. I went online. I started Googling. I started looking up documents for doctors. I started going into MD classes. All kinds of stuff. And so I thought it was crazy, like, you know, when we go into these support groups, you know, you're expecting support. And when I see a bunch of, you know, me as a new person being introduced to groups, because I'm not new to HS. Please don't misunderstand that, because there's a lot of people trying to get me discredited, you know, through all these little groups. And they're like, you know, she's new to this. I'm not new to it. My son's had HS since he was 7. I've just been able to learn to maintain it to where it's never gotten to the point where he's had to have surgery. So by me doing all the research that I do, by dissecting this stupid disease, my son is where he's at today, not because of the doctor, not because of pills, not because of Humira. That was all just making him actually worse. All because I said, you know what? I need to sit down and really evaluate my son's body. What is going into his body that is causing his body to react this way? And it was freaking food. I was killing my son. And I didn't know it. And now, I'm just making it up to my son. 100%. And that's by just changing what we're doing. It was very obvious as soon as I removed gluten, wheat, also known as durum, also known as spelt. It goes by so many names. And it's crazy because someone made a comment saying in one of the groups, the admin or the owner of the group or whatever, she's like, you know, do you think we're stupid? Like, we don't know how to read ingredients? I'm like, no, I don't. Because I don't call myself stupid. And when I started looking at these ingredients and the way that gluten is spelled all kinds of different ways, I was like, wow, you know, I never thought about looking at all this. Like, I'm just thinking, if I don't see wheat on the label, I thought I was good. No, it's called all kinds of different stuff. It's like cigarettes. You know, when you look up cigarettes, tobacco is gluten-free. But once you alter it and make it into a cigarette, that modified process, gluten is now called MFS. I wouldn't know that. Who knows that? Nobody. We have to search for it. Same thing, I had a one-on-one yesterday with a young lady, and she was eating something that had, it's called Koshans or something like that. So I had to look it up. And it had durum in it. I said, oh, I see why you're, you know, why you triggered, because there's durum in that. She's like, what's that? I said, that's wheat. That's gluten. She's like, what? She's like, well, why is it named like that? I said, I don't know, but I have had those aha moments myself. Same thing, earlier today, this morning, I had a one-on-one, like a mini one-on-one. You know, she was going to start her day and she just had questions. And she's like, I drank a protein shake. I think it was either today or yesterday. And so I looked up her protein shake, and I looked up the brand, looked up the ingredients, and it's called whey protein something. And I'm like, oh, this already tells me it already has milk in it. And I'm like, are you dairy sensitive? She said, yeah, but I don't drink milk. It's like, oh, okay, well, your whole protein shake is milk. And I'm like, whey is the strain liquid from milk. And so I was like, you might want to stay away from that protein, today, or protein shake today. But it's like, I'm not saying that nobody doesn't know how to read labels. It's just labels have to be really looked at differently. Before, when I would go grocery shopping, man, my grocery shopping was like in and out, depending on how many things I had to buy. It's not in and out anymore. Sometimes I'm there for like 2 hours, unknowingly knowing that I'm there that long. My son will call me, hey, Mom, where you at, man? He said, you're going to go get groceries. Yeah, I'm actually still here. I'm reading labels. I got to make sure that there's no damn gluten in here. I need to make sure there's no milk in there, because there's been plenty of times that I'm so focused on gluten that I overlook the milk content. Or I'm looking at milk and gluten, and I'm overlooking the lectins, So it's just a lot of stuff, and it's a process of learning your body, but it's worth it, because seeing my son, I don't mind being in that damn store 3 hours. I'm just getting I guess I look at it this way. I'm getting my steps in, and I just make sure I have my watch on to make sure that I'm reading everything. And at the end of the day, my son is happy. He's waking up in a good mood. He's waking up to looking forward to the next day. Whereas before, he was just dreading it. He didn't want to wake up. He just wanted to be asleep. Because being asleep, you couldn't feel the pain. And so yesterday was like a crazy breakthrough, because one of the groups was reaching out to all these support groups and talking about how dangerous I was, and how my information is, gonna hurt people, or they believe it's gonna hurt people. They think it's gonna hurt people. But never do they say anything about that they know that it's fact, that it's proof. But then when I go to their actual programs or their website, all of a sudden they're talking about nutrition. I was like, wow, I never seen this before. But all of a sudden we're talking about nutrition, right? Even though that's your second option and not your first option. But I did get banned. I got banned from a lot of groups, all because they took the voice of one person. And it's the one person that, for whatever reason, I don't know what's the whole thing about trying to take me down. Because when you go online, there's several different support groups for all kinds of stuff. If you look up cancer support group, you're going to probably find a zillion of those. If you go up and look up leukemia or something, you're going to see a bunch of programs or support groups for those. HS, not so many, but they're out there. And so when I went into them and I saw how dark these groups are, I was like, man, a lot of people are really negative, and it makes you feel bad, because it's like, I don't want my son to be like that. I want my son to hate to be alive and breathing, even though right now I knew at that time that's how he felt. So I continued to search, and when I found what worked, tattoo wraps helped. That was the confidence builder. That was like the first part of the puzzle. Then when I took away gluten and I saw his pain started to fade away, I was like, all right, my son is more lively. He's awake. There's people on there trying to say, oh, she claims that she can cure. I never said I can cure